After our mother passed away, my sisters fought over an inheritance worth $16 million and left me with a dusty old trunk they called trash. But inside, it hid a shocking secret that changed everything. My name is Elias Vance. I'm 42 years old. A music teacher at Jefferson Middle School in Connecticut. The kids call me Mr. V. And their parents thank me for my patience with their tone-deaf little ones. It's a simple life. One I love. But it's not the life my mother, Eleonora, ever wanted for me. Nothing I did ever measured up to her sky-high expectations. Growing up in the Vance Mansion in Greenwich felt like living in a museum. 14 rooms of polished hardwood, Persian rugs, and oil paintings that whispered old money. Eleonora built her jewelry empire from scratch, or so she told everyone at those endless charity galas. She'd stand there, dripping in diamonds, spinning tales of a single store turned into millions. My sisters fit her perfect mold. Isadora, 3 years older, became a lawyer who could make sharks weep with her deals. Serafina, 4 years younger, designed jewelry that graced every magazine cover. They were her pride, her shining stars. Me, I was the odd one out. I loved teaching kids to play hot cross buns on their recorders. I'd rather spend Saturday mornings at band practice than at the country club. To her, I was the disappointment. I still remember my first real memory. 6 years old. Sitting at that massive dining table. Eleonora coached Isadora through multiplication tables. Excellence isn't optional, she said, her manicured nails tapping the mahogany. 12 times 12, Isadora fired back. 144. Good. Eleonora nodded. Then she turned to me. 8 times 7, I froze. Numbers jumbled in my head like marbles. 52. I stammered. Silence hit like a slap. Her lips pressed into that thin line I dreaded. It's 56. Elias. Isadora knew that at 5. That set the tone for 36 years. Family dinners buzzed with Isadora's courtroom wins. Serafina's sketches got framed and sold. My piano recitals, barely a mention. Eleonora's eyes would narrow. Her silence louder than words. I felt invisible. Like I only existed to make them look better. Dad, Gerald, was different. Quiet. Shrinking under her shadow. He died when I was 15. A heart attack at his desk. Calculator still in hand. Uncle Alistair stepped in after that. Loud. Commanding. Owning every room he entered. He'd say, "Image is everything." Elias. The mansion grew colder. Despite the gold. Music became my escape. At 10. I touched a piano key in school, and something clicked. It was like finding a language I'd always known. My teacher said I had talent, real talent. Eleonora laughed when Dad suggested lessons. Waste money on a boy who can't pass math, but he insisted. I got 1 year. Barely keeping B's. That year stretched to 3. Then, a scholarship to a state college, she called embarrassing. The day I said I'd be a music teacher. You'd think I'd join the circus. Thanksgiving. Junior year. Oh, whole family there, Alistair. Cousins. Business folks. Eleonora's fork froze. A teacher, you're joking. I tried. It's what I love. I'm good with kids. I can make a difference. Isadora snorted into her wine. Could sell necklaces for better profit. Alistair boomed. Men build empires. Not teach snot-nosed kids. Mary had a little lamb. Dad stayed silent. Pushing food around. Later. In his study. He whispered. Follow your heart. Son. I didn't. 6 months later. He was gone. I built my life $60,000 a year. A 2-bedroom apartment 40 minutes from the mansion. To her, it was poverty. At gatherings, she'd say, "My daughters. Stars. And Elias, he teaches." That stung. Why praise them? Ignore me. It wasn't criticism, it was erasure. My efforts unseen. Like I didn't matter unless useful. Music was my fight back. Sneaking to the attic piano. Fingers dancing. Freedom in a house of rules. But even that, she poisoned. One day at 12. She caught me. No shout. Just that cold stare. Then walked off. At dinner, she acted like I wasn't there. Weeks of silence. Begged forgiveness for nothing. She finally spoke. Privacy and respect. Elias, learn it. The trunk in her closet locked. Old leather with green brass became a symbol. At 8. I asked. What's inside? Her eyes iced over. Not your concern? Some things stay buried. At 13. Curiosity 1. While they were at Isadora's event, I tried a pin on the lock. Heart raced. Footsteps here. No yell. Just silence again. A month. Meals where she talked past me. Like glass. I learned mysteries cost too much. It scarred me deep. That trunk haunted me. What was she hiding? The unfairness grew. I deserved more than being the family's shadow. But back then, I didn't know how to fight. Not yet. What do you think? Was I wrong to keep wondering? Music was my rebellion in that house of rules. The attic piano became my secret world, fingers flying over keys. Notes filling the silence, Eleonora imposed. It was freedom. Pure and simple. But even there, she found a way to poison it. I was 12 when she caught me one afternoon. I'd snuck up after school. Lost in a melody. Door creaked. Her shadow fell long. No words. Just that stare, cold as winter. Disappointment etched deep. She turned and walked away. Dinner that night, she spoke to Isadora about law school dreams. Serafina, about sketches. Me invisible again. Days blurred into weeks of the silent treatment. Plates passed without a glance. I'd ask questions, nothing. Beg for words, silence. It broke me. I apologized for playing music. For existing wrong. Finally. After what felt eternal. She spoke privacy and respect. Elias. Some boundaries aren't crossed. Lesson learned. Passion was a threat. The trunk in her closet amplified it. That old leather thing? Brass corners green with age. Locked tight. It sat like a sentinel. Guarding secrets I wasn't worthy of. At 8. Sorting her gala jewels. I pointed. What's in the trunk? Mother. Her eyes iced. July. Not your worry. Elias. Some things stay buried. Curiosity festered. At 13. Everyone at Isadora's debate win. House empty. I grabbed a bobby pin. Heart hammering at the lock. Clicked, almost footsteps. Her. No slap. No yell. Just the void. A full month. Dinners where she looked through me like glass. Family talked around the ghost at the table. I cracked then. Swore off prying. Mysteries cost sanity. But it scarred. Why punish wonder? Control. That's why. Eleonora, ruled by fear of the unknown. Thanksgiving junior year crushed the last hope. College break. Full table. Alistair booming. Cousins. Associates. I gathered courage. I'm becoming a music teacher. Love it. Good with kids. Can change lives. Fork suspended. Eleonora repeated. A teacher. Laughter bubbled. Isadora snorted into wine. Necklaces sell better profit. Brother. Serafina smirked, silent. Alistair thundered. Vance men build empires. Not nanny tunes to brats. Air thick. I shrank. Dad pushed peas. Quiet. Later. Steady whisper. Heart knows. Son. Mine didn't. 6 months gone. Heart attack. I fled to my apartment. 60,000 salary, feeling riches against her disdain. Taught kids whose eyes lit, nailing notes. Parents teared at concerts. Real impact. But holidays, Eleonora's intros daughters achieve. Elias touches. That night. Alone. The different currencies hit. Family traded status. Dollars. Theirs cold. Measurable. Mine joy's warmth. Connections forged in harmony. They valued empires crumbling under weight. I chased emotions, wealth. Beauty and chaos. No exchange rate bridged. Was I lesser? Or just speaking unknown tongue? Their world prized power, mine. Souls touched. No wonder clash blind to my gold. The trunk lingered in mind. Stared at during visits. Once post Dad's funeral. Saw her hand on lock. Tears rare. Mother spun. Ice Queen back privacy. Respect learned hard. Years passed. Built life, loving it. This beat of shadows. But resentment simmered. Why them praised? Me, erased, effort unseen. Value, questioned. Until her death cracked it open. What if that trunk held answers? Curiosity reignited cost. Be damned this time. The will reading replayed endless. Isadora's laugh echoed. Enough. I deserved truth. Whatever buried. But back then. Silence won. Not anymore. What secrets wait in locked pasts? The will reading replayed in my head like a broken record. Isadora's laugh sharp. Cutting stuck with me. Enough was enough. I deserved truth. Whatever lay buried. That afternoon. I drove back to the mansion. Heart pounding with a mix of rage and resolve. The place was a ghost, now sheets over furniture. Boxes, lining halls. Prepped for Isadora's move-in. The trunk sat in Eleanor's bedroom. Smaller, somehow. Mocking me with its silence. I grabbed a crowbar from the garage. Hands shook with 37 years of suppressed fury. 37 years of making me feel worthless. I muttered to the empty room. This is your final joke. The lock gave with a satisfying crack. Echoing off the walls, I flung the lid open. Expecting moldy clothes or faded photos. Instead, hundreds of letters stared back, neat bundles tied with string. Dated from when I was 5. Return address Clara and Leo Brennan. Riverside. I sank to the floor. Legs gone. Oldest letter. Yellowed. Postmarked 2 weeks after my 5th birthday. Shaky handwriting. Dear Roland, your real name, if you're reading. Eleonora's dead. Time for truth. Stolen at Phil. World tilted. Another letter. 6 months later, judge wouldn't listen. Her lawyers called me delusional. I have your birth certificate. Baby pictures. That elephant blanket. How can they say you don't exist when my arms ache to hold you? Impossible. Not Vance-born Brennan. To Clara and Gerald, my father. Not married to Eleanora then. Her secretary. Letter at 10. Saw your concert. Played so beautifully. I sobbed from the back row 500 feet. Closest, the restraining order allowed. You looked at us once. Wanted to scream. I'm your mother. That's your brother. Police watched. She made sure. Documents spilled out, court filings. Dismissed petitions. Restraining orders. DNA results 99.9% match from my cup at a public event. Photos shot school plays. Graduation. Teaching last year. At 25, truths horrible. Eleanora found my pregnancy. Infertile. Your sisters from affairs. Gerald stayed. Weak. Tahoe vacation drugged me. Staged breakdown. Committed me. Took you. Forged papers. Money bought judges. Truth without money is noise. Latest. Month ago dying. Pancreatic cancer. Weeks left. Alistair called, conscience broke. You'll get the trunk. Leo never married, family torn. Come home. See my son free. Letters scattered like a crime scene. 37 years stolen life. Identity. Mirror showed a stranger. Vance disappointment or Brennan's stolen son. One way to know. Grab the address. Keys. Riverside. 3 hours. Drive or the new engine roared. Toward truth. Road blurred with thoughts. Clara's voice through letters desperate. Loving. Tahoe peace trap. Druggle at dinner. Woke in hospital. She'd filed delusional employee, obsessed. Gerald torn. A stayed for son, me blind to truth. Sisters, not his affairs. Empire on his money. Meant for us. Alistair vouched. Testified I was hers. Sent cash later, guilt. Called when she's sick. Photos proved it, baby me with Clara's smile. Leo's arm protective. Blanket with elephants worn from her hold. Concert sobbed afar. 500 feet. Final plea. Held on. De peace if you come. Heart shattered. Mother I never knew. Fought daily. Eleanora stole that love. Halfway. Stopped. Reread DNA. Called my lawyer friend, not family tied. If true. Your heir. Sue for all. Rage mixed doubt. Who am I drove on? Resolve stealing. Truth my weapon now. What if it's too late? The Riverside house loomed ahead, modest. 2-story colonial with blue shutters. A rose garden, blooming. And a wooden swing swaying on the oak out front. The kind I'd begged for as a kid. But Eleanora called it too common for our neighborhood. My hands trembled as I rang the bell at 9:30 at night. Door creaked open. And there he was, a man who could have been me in another life. Same brown eyes. Same curved nose. But taller. Broader. Hands rough like a worker's. His face crumpled the second he saw me. Roland, he whispered. Voice barely there. Found the letters. I said. Voice cracking. No more words. He pulled me into a hug that felt like coming home after a war. Sawdust and coffee filled my nose. He cried open. Unashamed. The way Vance men never did. My God. You're here. You're actually here. He kept saying. Pulling back to look. Then hugging again, like I'd vanish. That was Leo. My brother. He led me inside. The living room hit like a shrine. Walls covered with photos, me at 8 playing baseball. 12. With a music award. 16 at Dad's funeral. Graduations. Teaching last month. We never missed a thing we could find. Leo said, following my gaze. Mom hired investigators till money ran out. Then we did it ourselves. I learned photography just to capture you from afar. Where is she, Clara? Our mother, I asked. Hope clawing up. His face fell. He sank onto a worn leather couch, motioning me to join. She passed 2 weeks ago. Held on as long as she could, hoping Alistair would crack. Day before she died. He called about the trunk. The will. She smiled for the first time in months. He'll find them. She said. He'll come home. Grief slammed me like a fist. Robbed twice at 5. Now. Everything. Tell me everything. I choked out. Leo grabbed folders from a filing cabinet. Documents. Photos. Clippings spilling across the coffee table like an unsolved case. Dad Gerald wasn't married to Eleonora when you were born. They worked at the same firm. She managed clients. Mom was his secretary. They fell in love. Real love. Not the deal he later had with Eleonora. You were born 1982. He planned to marry her. He slid over a birth certificate. Roland James Brennan. March 15th. 1982. To Clara Brennan and Gerald Vance. Eleonora couldn't have kids. Hid it. When she found out about you. About us. She plotted. Befriended Mom. Pretended acceptance. Offered to help Dad tell his family. Tahoe vacation was supposed to unite us. A police report from 1987. Instead, she drugged Mom at dinner. While unconscious. Took you. Forged adoption papers. Birth certificates. When Mom woke in the hospital 3 days later, Eleonora had a restraining order claimed Mom was a delusional employee obsessed with her son. But the DNA tests, I said, holding one from the trunk. We did 5. Leo nodded. Courts dismissed contamination. Fraud. She had judges in her pocket. We were nobodies. She was Eleonora Vance. Friends with senators. Governors. He showed older photos, baby, me laughing with Clara's warm eyes. Leo's arm around me at 7. Protective. The empire, built on Dad's family money, meant for us. Your sisters aren't even his. Eleonora's affairs. Dad stayed. Thinking for you. Not knowing you were the only real tie. How'd Alistair know, I asked. Helpel at first. Vouched her story. Testified you were always hers. Guilted him. Sent us cash anonymously. 10 years ago, not much. But a sign. When she got sick, he called. Told us to wait. Truth would out. I stared at a photo, Clara holding me. Both laughing. She died thinking I didn't know. Never hearing Mom. The paradox gripped me. Grieving a stranger. Tears fell for a woman I'd only met through ink. A life stolen. Deeper than losing Eleonora. Known, but unloved. Mourning. What could have been? Arms aching for a hug never had. Her love. Through letters. I felt truer than years with Mother. How do you cry for someone your heart knows, but memory doesn't? It was a beautiful, brutal pain. What if I'd come sooner, too late now? The next morning. Alistair showed up at the Riverside house. He looked older than his 70 years. Guilt draped like a heavy coat he couldn't shed. Leo opened the door, but didn't invite him in, left him on the doorstep. A stranger at last. His usual commanding voice was gone. Replaced by something broken. I know you hate me. He started. Eyes down. I helped her do it. I thought I was protecting the family name. Shielding Gerald from scandal. I vouched for her lies. Testified, you were always Eleonora's. Watched. You grow up knowing the truth. Said nothing. You watched her treat me like garbage for 37 years. I snapped. Stepping beside Leo. Knew my real mother was fighting to reach me. And you did nothing. I started sending money. He said weakly. Blood money. Leo spat back. 500 here. 1,000 there. You think that fixed anything? Our mother died of a broken heart that took 37 years to stop beating. Alistair pulled a thick envelope from his coat. This is everything. My sworn affidavit on what happened. Documents I kept. Recordings of Eleonora admitting it on morphine near the end. Enough to destroy her legacy. Prove the truth. Maybe overturn the will. I took it. Feeling its weight? Why now, I demanded. Anita called a month ago. Dying. She didn't beg for herself. Begged me to ensure you learned the truth. Said she could die in peace if she knew you'd come home. Even if she wasn't here to see it. I couldn't live with myself otherwise. The legal battle erupted. Headlines screamed jewelry empire built on kidnapped child and stolen fortune. Isadora and Serafina fought back, hiring the best lawyers money could buy. But Alistair's testimony hit. DNA verified. Forged documents exposed. Their resistance crumbled. The empire dissolved in 6 months. Every store. Every piece. Every asset liquidated. Courts awarded me everything as Gerald's only biological heir and compensation for 37 years of false imprisonment. $16 million. They said. But no amount could buy back those decades. I gave each sister $1 million. They weren't to blame for Eleanora's crimes. Though they'd benefited. Victims too. In their way. Raised by a woman incapable of real love. Isadora took it. Fled to London, shame too heavy. Serafina stayed. We've started building something like a real sibling bond. Slow but real. No joy in the win. Justice done. But emptiness lingered. What's victory when years are gone? Real inheritance came a week later. Leo handed me a box. Clara's saved treasures. Birthday card she'd bought but couldn't send. Recordings of her voice. Soft and warm. Telling me my first words. Favorite toys. Songs she sang. A baby blanket with little elephants. Worn soft from her, holding it every night for 37 years. I moved to Riverside for good. Leo and I renovated Mom's house, painting walls. Restoring rooms. Learning each other with every stroke. He's an architect. Designing homes with perfect backyards for kids. Never married. He said. Couldn't build a whole family when ours was broken. Not anymore. He added one evening on the porch she'd built. Hoping we'd sit there together. I kept teaching. Now at Riverside Elementary. Started a music program for underprivileged kids, giving them a chance to find their voice. Named it the Clara Brennan Music Foundation. At every concert, I tell the crowd. It's for my mother. A woman who never stopped fighting for what she loved. 6 months after the truth came out, I stood between two graves. On my left, Eleanora's marble monument grand. Already weathering. Visitors fading. On my right, Clara's simple headstone. Now reading. Beloved mother never stopped fighting, finally won. I placed roses on hers. The same kind from her garden. I'm home. Mom. I whispered. Some prisons have bars. Others are lies. We believe so long they shape us. I spent 37 years as Elias Vance. The disappointing son who never measured up. But I was always Roland Brennan, the stolen child loved beyond measure. Fought for every day. Never forgotten. My real mother gave me what Eleanora couldn't prove I was worth fighting for. That trunk? Meant as her last cruelty. Became my salvation. She thought it held worthless letters. Instead, it held a love, so powerful death couldn't stop it. Distance couldn't dim it. And 37 years of lies couldn't erase it. 16 million in jewelry couldn't touch what was in that trunk. The truth. And the truth? Turns out, is priceless. 2 legacies stand clear. Eleanora's built on deceit. Crumbled to dust. Material wealth. Fragile. Leaving only shame. Clara's love unseen. Eternal. Fought silently through letters. Hope enduring. Now it lives through me. The foundation. Music blooming in kids' lives. True legacy isn't left behind, it inspires forward. Love wins. Truth endures. The greatest inheritance isn't money or property. It's knowing who you are. Where you came from. And that someone loved you with a never give up love. My mother, my real mother, taught me that. Now. Every day. I wake in the house I was meant to grow up in. With the brother I was meant to know. Living the truth I was always meant to find. I was never a disappointment. Just lost. Now. Finally. I'm found. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Ever uncovered a truth that flipped your world? Drop it in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful tales of truth and love. Thanks for listening. Until next time, remember the truth always finds a way home. Story 2 Wife cheated with her coworker in a party and left me. Then used our frozen embryo without my permission to get pregnant. So, I took her back, and now she abandoned our baby and wants nothing to do with us. My wife, 36 farads. And I, 40 meters. I have been together 5 years and got married last year. We definitely have our ups and downs. But we're generally happy. On Friday, she went out with people from her work for Christmas drinks and arrived home around midnight, absolutely hammered. She just said she'd had a good time and went straight to bed. Yesterday, I got a message on Instagram from an anonymous account claiming to be one of her colleagues, saying she'd been flirting all night with one of the guys from the office. 44 meters. And they'd left together at about 9 to walk to the train station. The colleague had a couple more drinks for, then went to the station herself and says she saw my wife walking hand in hand with the guy through the station at about 10:45. They didn't see her. Last night. I showed her the message and asked her for an explanation. She claims she was so drunk she doesn't remember anything that happened after about 8:00 p.m. I asked if she went somewhere with the guy after they left the group, and she checked the location history on her phone, which confirmed that they had gone to a bar near the station for about an hour. They arrived at the station at 10:40. She gave me her phone and insisted I check it, and there were no suspicious messages or anything. As far as I could tell, she doesn't have the guy's number in her phone, and they're not following each other on Instagram or friends on Facebook. I asked if she was flirting with him, and she admitted that she was talking mostly to him all night. But that's just because he's the only person in her office she has anything in common with, and that they're just friends, and it wasn't flirting. She's mentioned this guy to me before, and said how much they have in common. I asked if they were holding hands, and she said she doesn't remember. But she doesn't think so. She claims to know who sent me the message, and says it's a woman in the office who hates her. Although she doesn't know why. Today, she's been in a terrible mood and we've not really spoken. So, that's where we are. I'm not sure what to do. Is this as big a red flag as it seems to be? Update 1. A few people requested an update to my last post, and a lot has happened in the last week. So, here it is. I'll post any further updates on my profile. Sam came home from work on Monday and casually said that she'd spoken with the guy Tom, and he'd confirmed that they hadn't held hands. They'd just been walking arm in arm because she was drunk and wearing heels. I asked why her colleague Helen would make an Instagram account, track me down, and messaged me, saying they held hands if it wasn't true. She said Helen is basically in love with Tom and made a pass at him just after his divorce. But he rejected her. I asked why Helen would feel threatened by her. She said because her and Tom are friends. And Helen's a crazy jealous, as evidenced by the Instagram message. I asked why she went for a drink. Just her and Tom. She said that according to Tom, they walked past this bar with an amazing live band playing. So they stopped in for a drink. Her only regret was doing too many shots, too early, and getting shit-faced. The next day, she went shopping after work and came home with a new dress. I asked what the occasion was, and she said her work Christmas party. Last week was just drinks with people from her office. The company Christmas party is on Friday. Apparently, she'd mentioned this. I hardly slept that night. The next day, I decided to reply to the Instagram message to get some more info. I asked, "Do you think anything's going on with them, Helen?" "I assume," quickly replied with a long message, saying that they flirt at work and everyone's noticed. Apparently, Sam was going to be let go. But Tom put in a good word. So she kept her job. Tom protects her in the office and will constantly defend her. She also said that Sam, about me, to the whole office. And it's clear we don't have a happy marriage. I asked if she was going to the Christmas party, and she said she'd update me if anything happened. Sam finished work early on Friday, so she had time to get ready. She looked amazing, and I really didn't want her to go. But I felt like I couldn't say anything. I got an Instagram message about midnight saying that Sam and Tom hadn't interacted at the party, but that people from the office had decided to leave and go to a different bar. They all left just before 11:00 and were at the new bar by 10. Sam and Tom turned up just before midnight. Sam arrived home about 2:00 a.m. Not quite as drunk as last time, and went straight to sleep. I pretended to be fast asleep. I looked at the location history on her phone. After leaving the venue, she'd taken a 3-mile detour to a residential street, stayed for half an hour, then gone to the bar. I sent the address to Helen. She didn't reply until the next morning when she said it was Tom's house. When Sam woke up, I just asked her straight out if she cheated on me with Tom last night. She angrily denied it. I told her that I knew she'd been to Tom's house. She accused me of spying on her, called me controlling, said she was going to stay with her sister. I demanded an explanation, and she said she went to his house so they could smoke a joint before heading to the bar. Then she stormed out. She wouldn't reply to my messages or answer my calls all day Sunday. I called her sister, who said she hadn't seen her. But she texted me later that she'd spoken to Sam and she was okay. Sam came home yesterday morning. I asked where she'd been, and she just said she couldn't do this anymore and wants a divorce. She went to start packing some clothes while I tried to get her to talk to me. I asked if she was leaving me for Tom. She once again denied anything inappropriate had happened between them, but said my jealousy was the final straw. It's clear I don't trust her. I'm controlling. I take her for granted. She's deeply unhappy. Has been for a while. So she's gone. It looks like I'll be spending my first Christmas alone. I have no idea if she was telling the truth, or if it was an affair. Weirdly, I'm not feeling too bad today. So maybe this is for the best. Update 2. Once she was gone, Sam blocked me on all her social media and refused to return my messages or answer my calls. I ended up traveling to the other side of the country to spend Christmas with my parents. On Christmas Eve, Sam came home and took more of her stuff. I watched her on our security cameras. I tried phoning her, but she ignored my calls. Christmas wasn't great, and my parents were both shocked and in denial about what had happened. They had no idea we were having issues and insisted Sam would come to her senses and come home. Eventually, I just said she'd met someone else. I returned home on the 27th. I'd been getting sporadic updates from Sam's sister just letting me know she's alright. But without any details. Before all this happened, we'd made plans to spend New Year's Eve at Sam's favorite bar in the city. I went on my own, but she didn't show up. On Tuesday night, I received an Instagram message from Helen saying that Sam and Tom had arrived at work together in Tom's car. I didn't bother replying. On Wednesday night, she sent another message saying Sam was poisoning the office against her and that Tom was pushing up her management to transfer her to another office or get rid of her. She begged me to do something. I texted Sam and said we needed to talk. But she didn't reply. So, the next day, I called her work switchboard, gave a fake name, and got put through. I could tell she wasn't happy to hear my voice. But she agreed to meet up after work at a local pub and talk. I got there early, and she arrived 25 minutes late. She apologized for ignoring my calls and said she still cares about me and wants to end things on good terms. I said, just tell me the truth. She promised that she wasn't having an affair with Tom and they were just friends. She admitted that they talk a lot in the office, but insisted it wasn't an emotional affair. She understands why I was suspicious after the Instagram message, but said I should have accepted her denial and trusted her. She has a lot of male friends, but she felt like she couldn't hang out with them because I'd get jealous. I pointed out that I've never told her not to hang out with anyone, but she said I'd be in a mood whenever she'd hang out with a guy friend. She feels like we only got married to try and fix a relationship that was already broken. Our conversations have devolved into small talk, and we've drifted apart. I said I'd heard that she and Tom arrived at work together. Sam said she went to Tom's after I accused her of cheating and knew it was over between us. They spent the weekend together and agreed that they'd make a better couple than we did. She needed me to know that nothing happened between them until after she told me she wanted a divorce. And now they were together, and she wanted me to hear it from her before I saw it on social media. Tom was waiting outside for her in the car. All I could do was stand up and walk out. Sam texted me saying she knew I was upset, but not to do anything stupid. I blocked her number. I'm not going to lie. It was a rough night. The next day, I was just numb. Didn't really do much. Over the weekend, I dug out our marriage certificate so I can start divorce proceedings. I've no idea what to say to Helen, so I haven't replied. I think the plan now is to try and find a new job closer to my hometown. I moved across the country to live with Sam, and I've never really felt settled here. I also don't want to run into her and Tom around town. Luckily, we rent. This will probably be my last update unless something miraculous happens. So, thanks for reading. Update 3. My soon-to-be ex-wife is pregnant and has suggested to her friend that it's mine. The only way this is possible is if she's had our final frozen embryo implanted without my permission. If that's what she's done, then either the IVF clinic haven't asked for my sign-off, or she's somehow convinced them that I've granted permission. When I left our shared house in January, I couldn't find my passport. So it's likely she has it. I'm waiting for a call back from the clinic. But I'm freaking out and want to get an idea of the potential consequences. Could she get sent to prison? What will happen to the clinic? What happens when the baby arrives considering the circumstances we're in England? Thanks. Edit. I finally spoken to the clinic manager. And it seems this is all down to my own stupidity. When our last embryo didn't take, we signed all the paperwork a few weeks later to do the final transfer. My wife then developed some hormonal issues. So we paused the process until she could get it sorted out. Then, for various reasons, we decided not to proceed with the transfer, which she told the clinic. Apparently, they just paused the process for up to 3 years in order to protect our deposit. And the consent forms remained valid. My wife had the transfer 6 weeks ago. Update 4. My ex-wife is pregnant with our first child due on Christmas Eve. There's more detail in my profile. But essentially we broke up last Christmas and I moved back in with my parents, 200 plus miles away. She started a relationship with a coworker, which caused so much drama at her work that in February, she reached a mutual agreement that she would immediately resign in exchange for 6 months' salary. The relationship ended and she used the settlement money to restart the IVF process we'd paused years earlier. When I found out she was pregnant, I contacted the IVF clinic, who explained that the contracts we'd signed at the start of the process were still valid, and they hadn't done anything wrong. I disagreed, and thanks to the advice divided by recommendations, I hired solicitors specializing in clinical negligence and contract law. They managed to negotiate a settlement with the clinic in lieu of legal action, and my ex and I ended up with about £80,000 each, after fees. Plus, the clinic updated their processes to require consent be reconfirmed by both parties before any embryo transfer takes place. For the last 4 months, I've been in regular contact with my ex, discussing settlement negotiations and traveling down south for scans. When I asked why she did it, she just said that she knew this was her last chance to have a baby. And when she came into some money, she took it as a sign that she should go ahead with the embryo transfer, before I remembered to withdraw consent. She's since been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which in her mind has absolved her of any responsibility for her actions. She's desperate for us to get back together and raise our son as a family. I'm not interested in being a couple. But I obviously don't want to be 200 meters away from my son. I've got a new job. So I really didn't want to move back down to Hampshire. But she was willing to move up to Yorkshire as long as we lived together. So, we agreed to spend the settlement money on a house in my hometown. I picked up the keys last week and I've been furnishing divided by decorating in preparation for us moving in next week. My ex has no friends or family around here and no job. Us living together is going to be super awkward. But once the baby comes, I'm hoping we can get into a co-parenting routine. The new house has 3 bedrooms. So, we'll have 1 each, and 1 for our son. We've agreed not to see other people for at least 3 years. Her request. What's the best way to navigate this situation? We're both very excited to be parents. And I hope I'm making the best of a shitty situation. But it's obviously fraught with potential pitfalls. I don't see us rekindling a romantic relationship. But in an ideal world, we'll live together for a few years. Then, sell the house. By which point she'll be settled here. And we can live close to each other and co-parent our son. I hope I'm not being unbelievably naive and making a huge mistake. My parents are excited to be grandparents, but they're not keen on the idea of us living together. Update 5. To say my last post got a negative response would be an understatement. It was a strange feeling reading all the replies saying, what a mistake I was making after putting in so much thought and spending lots of time and effort to get where I was. Someone sent me a link of my previous post. Hearing the worst time of my life being read out loud really affected me and brought out a lot of feelings of guilt and shame. It made me realize that I hadn't even began to process what happened last Christmas, or why. And I contacted a therapist the next day. Sam moved in the day before my first appointment. It was awkward. But she was busy organizing her new room. So I just left her to it. That night, we ordered pizza and watched a movie. It was nice. I met the therapist the next day and explained the situation. He thought the whole thing was a bad idea. But as we were now living together, he agreed to help us navigate things as smoothly as possible. He thought couples therapy would be the best option. Sam and I have seen him every week since then and gone through our entire relationship. After 4 miscarriages, the last 2 at 12+ weeks absolutely wrecked Sam's mental health. I started cooling on the idea of continuing to try for a child. Instead of talking to Sam, she so desperately wanted to be a mom. I thought it would break her. I just pulled away from her. Of course. She noticed and blamed herself and began spiraling. Couple this with undiagnosed bipolar disorder and the hormone issues which resulted from the IVF. And it was a recipe for disaster. Sam thought, possibly correctly, that I wanted out of